Ish ve'isha, finding one Shidduch, getting married. So if you open the Torah Reish Samich Hey, in the first Chalik, Reb Nachman has a whole bunch of pieces about breaking the plate. It's like one of those moments, the chassan's by the tish, everything's getting leibedik, and all of a sudden the two mothers come, and they take the plate, and everybody, it's very, very exciting. And then the mothers cry and they break the plate, cry out of joy and love. And no matter how religious or not a mother is, at that moment they know that something in their soul is opening up, something in the soul of their son or daughter is opening up, and they break the plate. So Reb Nachman wants to talk about breaking the plate. What's going on with that? And that we do by the Tanoim. The Tanoim is essentially an agreement, a formally binding agreement that has consequences for non-compliance. Usually, this is what I hear the Rosh Yeshiva say, that like when they're explaining the Tanoim basically says like everyone's going to show up. So they're telling like the chassan, he's like all leibedik, and they're telling, each side that's basically going to say that I will ensure that the chassan comes, and you're going to ensure that the kala comes. And they're like, what exactly is going to... Just ensure that they come or else. That's what the Rosh Yeshiva says. Thank you very much. Make sure they come. Because non-compliance with... Thank you. Oh, right, the right side. Amen. What Torah? Reish Samach Hey. Hey? Hey, yeah. Reish Samach Hey. And therefore, be very careful of coming. That's the moment where they're agreeing that they're going to go forward with the Shidduch. Now, it used to be that, and many Chassidim still do this, they do the Tanoim like months before. The Tanoim is really now we're engaged and we're agreeing to go through with this. The Tanaim is binding. It means that we're not going to back up. And because it's such a powerful document, many have the custom of only doing it right before the chasana, because they're worried, like, don't play around with breaking a shidduch. And even though the Shidduch here is speaking about the plate, Reb Nachman's also hinting to the Shidduch of when a chas and kala find each other. And so to speak, they get engaged and they decide that they want to spend the rest of their life together, but they're not yet married. So look what Reb Nachman says. Tamal shviris kli cheres b'shas his kashrus hashidduch. The reason why we break the plate, and really it's a kli cheres. Cheres means pottery, some type of earthenware vessel. At the time of the sealing, this kashrus of the shidduch, at the time that the chas and kala agree that they want to get married, they want to spend their life together, and we break a plate, we break an earthenware vessel. Now the simple meaning between the breaking of the plate, the Mishnah Berurah speaks about, is that the simcha of a wedding, everybody knows, is a gewaldige simcha. Sometimes when you have people that didn't grow up religious, and maybe they spent time, their idea of a good night out was going to some crazy, party or something, some trance situation, and they think like, come on, how am I going to be a religious guy and still enjoy the party life? I say, my friend, did you come to a religious wedding yet? No, I never came. Oh, you just wait. You get ready for the party. This is the real party, and it's a holy party. So the excitement, the party of a chasana is so gewaldik, but we know, and the excitement is of the chas and kala coming together. That unification of chas and kala, which we're going to get to, why that's such a gewaldige unification. That unification is so significant, is so unbelievable, that everybody feels drawn to it and everybody feels elevated by that experience. But we also know that that experience is not yet complete. In so long as we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is still broken. And for 2,000 years it's been broken. And therefore we know, even though it's a tremendous gewaltige simcha, but the simcha is not yet complete, because there's still something broken. And therefore we remind ourselves of something broken at that moment, that the simcha is not yet complete. Why? An earthenware vessel, a simple pshat is that earthenware vessels were generally very cheap, and therefore we don't want to break something of significant monetary value to prove the point, but rather something of minimal financial value will suffice to teach us that point. And therefore an earthenware vessel is smashed in order to remind us of that moment. Yeah.
How come then it leads right into like a very happy, like usually they break the plate and then they go right into the dancing. They lead the chassan right into.
So we don't remain, we don't remain in the state of brokenness. A Jew knows you have to be broken for a moment, and then you have to emerge from the brokenness, and the Baal HaTanya speaks about this at length, that really the greatest simcha comes out of darkness, comes out of brokenness. That's why right after Tikkun Chatzos we learn Torah and we go into all sorts of avodas from the darkness into the light. That's also when we break the glass under the chuppah, like it goes right into the greatest simcha. So look what Rav Nachman says now. Why do we break this cheres? Okay, remember this. Next time you go to a chassan and you see the mothers breaking the plates, so you're gonna think of this Torah. Ki kol eila neshamas shel zivugheim lamala echad. These two neshamas that are coming together, up in Shemayim, they're really one neshama. These two souls that are coming together, in heaven they're really one. This is all based on a Zohar. That the souls, the way that they look up by Kisei HaKavod is all one. Now, I just have to give you some background to this. And there's a piece from Torah Nosson, which is Reb Nosson's parish on Likutei Moharan, Kedai, that everyone here, every single Jewish home needs it. I oftentimes find that Itchy Meyer has this sitting on his bima. So, get involved, like they say. So look what he says. Neshamas b'nei Yisrael kulam heim b'mechinas achtus haposhet. All the souls of Klal Yisrael are like one. Achtus haposhet, like one being. Ki heim chelik elokay. You don't have this in your text. I'm reading you from Torah Nosson. Ki heim chelik elokay mimal. Literally a piece, if you will. Even though Hashem is not divided into pieces, but so to speak, like an undiluted spark of the one. The kalulim bo yisborach. And we're all inside of the oneness of Hashem, an undiluted oneness. Valkein kol ha'ayin nefashos beis Yaakov. We're coming to this in the Parshias, and that's why all the 70 souls of Jacob, when we went down to Mitzrayim, kulam nikroim nefesh echad. Esa nefesh, the nefesh that went down to Mitzrayim. Shivim nefesh, yard b'nei Yisrael Mitzrayim. What do you mean? It's nefashos. No, nefesh. We came down as one. Aval ha'isha neged ha'ish, hi bechinas pe'ulos mishtanos. But then you have such a thing of the husband and the wife, so to speak, coming down into this world, and there's something is changing. Something is changing. And even though it's hard to speak this way, because people are trying to speak against the concept of the man and the woman being different. And I was speaking to one of my Rabbanim, and he said that he was watching something many, many years ago of somebody who was in Harvard, and they were just a biologist, and they just started to speak about how the anatomy of each seemed to be obviously different from scientific observation, and they had tomatoes thrown at them. Just because they wanted to observe that there seems to be differences. So it seems that just with a clear-headed point of view, we could see that there's differences. So once the Isha and the Ish are starting to come down into this world, Nilkacha mimenu ve'briyasa b'shinui gadol me'a'ish. You see that there's, says Rav Nosson, big differences. Things start changing. Ki ish ve'isha heim shinuyim muflogim me'oid. Listen to these words, remember them when you get married. A man and a woman are actually very different, even though they're one up there. But as they start the descent down into this world, things start changing. Things start changing physically and other things. Even though nevertheless, this is so important. In the source, they're one. And therefore, there is a deep thing that's going on where there's a challenge to this point. So, in a very, very secret, deep way, yes, they are one. But down here, they're different.
One doesn't mean same.
What does it mean?
It doesn't mean same. One does not mean same.
It's not so pashut that it's not, meaning it's all one. It's all one. We're not even speaking about differences up there. It's all one. Achdus HaPashut. And then they come, so to speak, into male and female, and then male and female come into male and female bodies. And this is a very deep sugya here. But yes, up there it's all one. Shivim nefesh, mamish one. And this is all brought down. The Ari, Kamuva b'divrei Admor Zal, Shibashor she'hanashamas yoytze nishmas ha'ish ubas zugoi b'yachad. In the source, the storage house of souls up in Shemayim, comes out neshamas of a man and his soulmate. Ki b'shar shemeheim neshama achas. In their root, they're one neshama. They're one neshama. Rak lamata nischalkim. Down below, they become split up. V'imkein, and therefore, ali de chibur ish ve'isha b'kedusha. When a husband and wife come together in a holy way down in this world, what are they essentially doing? Al pi Torah. Notice, when they come together in a holy way according to the way that the Torah describes, not stamazoi, I'm in Vegas, you're in Vegas. Hey, apparently it's easy in Vegas. Ali deze ikar klalius peulus mishtanas be'achtus hapashad. Ach mach meshakolas gabris. Oh, now watch this. However, the problem is that there's been such a overwhelming energy on the side of the Sitra Achra, on the dark side. Who his behapu'ulus mishtanus shesham achizosam vehem misgarim lahafrid chas v'shalom his galus achdus haposhet. Yes, there is pu'ulus mishtanus. We seem to see things changing and becoming different. But down here, we're actually supposed to come back and become one. We're not supposed to stay two. Two are supposed to become one, which is the whole side of Kudsha Brichu Shchinte, is L'Shem Yichud, is bringing two back to one. It only looks like it's separate, but it's really one. To bring two back to one. But the dark side, the whole power of the dark side, is to prevent the unification and to keep things separate. To keep things separate. So either you could have a unification through the Torah Kedosha, or now we see other approaches is to just make everything the same, but not through Kedusha. You know what I'm saying? Ki ikar koyach hasitra achra hu bechinas kfiris. The ikar power of the dark side is heresy. Ki hasitra achra nikra kel acher or el acher. the other God. It says that there's an other. It says you, husband, wife, you're not one. You're not one. You have to stay far away. Or don't think that you could really unify as one. You're so different. Even though you are different. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That's two different planets. My Rebbe Namir said, it might be kedai to read that book before you get married. There's a lot of good information in it that could help you. But that's not the end of the story. You got to bring Mars and Venus together and mamish make a new planet. It's to unify those planets. Yes, things are different, but you have to come back to oneness. And the Sitra Achra wants to keep it like two separate planets. And therefore, the dark side makes a big inyan to not allow ish ve'isha to connect in a way of kedusha. And that's why it's interesting, exactly that space on a person is where the biggest fight happens, spiritually. Right? Ezehu Gibor, who is the truly strong man? The guy who can conquer cities? No. Who is the truly strong man? HaKovesh et Yitzro, the one who could conquer that lower area. For men and women. If you can conquer the desires of in the Lashon Rosh Hashiva, I gotta. No, you don't have, no. To not be holy in that respect, if a person can conquer that, then he is the truly mighty person. And that's exactly where the Yetzer Hara comes, where the dark side comes to try to mess around the person. Because he knows if he could use that place not in a place of Kedusha, he won't come together with his wife in a holy way. He won't turn two into one. He'll keep everything separate. And therefore, if you could be a master, a real warrior, and not be drawn by the throes of the dark side to just create loneliness in that respect, then you're going to start to bring oneness. The ikra tikkun al dehoyladas abonim al pi haTorah. And what is the tikkun of this? The tikkun of this, which is interesting, is to have holy children in the way of the Torah. Because holy children is mamish taking two and making one. Very deep thing. It's two, which is mamish one. This is one. It's two that turned into one. And every child is an example of two that became one. If it's done in a holy way. And the children are given a holy Messiah. Okay, so that's Rav Nosson. Okay, back inside to Rabbeinu. So it says Rav Nachman. Ach lamata. But down here, his kashrus vis achdus shalahem hu behelim. When a chas and kala come down into this world from the higher universe, they look very different. You don't know that, Nechama Leah is your soulmate. You don't know. You don't see his kashrus. Maybe she's a nice person, but you don't know. And a prospective husband and wife, chas and kala, could just wander around the world looking for each other, but never find. What do you mean? We're one. Why don't we recognize each other? Because this kashrus, that connection is behelim. It's hiding. Hashem hides it. Literally, you look like two different people. You are, but not really. You're really one. You just came into two bodies, but you're one neshama. You're one soul. But Hashem brings you down here where you don't recognize each other. Kein yoden mis achdus shalahem. You don't know of the oneness until when? Ad ha-shidduch. Until the shidduch. The shidduch is the moment when two become one and they see the first spark of this. The moment of the shidduch of, okay, this is it. It's happening. Two are becoming one. Two are becoming one. And then what happens Va'azin is galis kasher shalahem. And then the connection starts to become revealed. Shahaya ad ata behelim. That it was until now hidden. You go on a date, you like, all the formalities, like, can I get you a Diet Coke? Or in my case, can I give you an organic smoothie? Diet Coke. I'm not hating on Diet Coke, I'm just saying, like, that's not my jam. I'm more of we were making, like, smoothie life, my wife and I together, while we were dating. So, you go through all the formalities of, nice to meet you, where are you from, what's your favorite color? First, like, how was the ride over here? Like, is the bus too packed? Like, are you comfortable enough? Did you get wet in the rain? And then, but the whole time you're like thinking, like, is this my shidduch? Is this my wife? And you're just you're enjoying the time together. But there's like, I don't know, like, could be. I feel there's something here. Okay, let's see. And at a certain point, though, there's an awareness of, I remember you. I remember you. It's not the first time we've met. Now, by the way, you should know, the Gemara says in Saita that Arba'im Yom Kodim Yitziras Avlad, that 40 days before a Vlad, before a fetus is formed, Yoitze Baskol, a heavenly voice goes out and says, Bas Ploni LePloni, that the daughter of this one shall be married to this one. Which means your shidduch is already known before you're even in this world. Based on everything we're saying, of course it is. You're two parts of the one. What's the problem, though? You come down here and you're in a dark world. You can't find each other. You feel like you're so distant and separate. Now the tzaddikim say, Arba'im Yom Kodim Yitziras Avlad Yoitze Baskol. A baskol goes out. It doesn't say nishma. It doesn't say the baskol was heard. So the tzaddikim say, when was the baskol heard? Well, it's just the baskol goes out. There's a heavenly voice that goes out, but when is it heard? So the tzaddikim say, it's heard at the moment of the shidduch. The chas and kal look in each other's eyes. It doesn't have to be like, the music goes. But there's a moment where they start to feel like, this is it. This is two becoming one. Achzeh is galus, but Reb Nachman says something interesting. This is galus, this revelation of this is the one, shelis kashrus, shenis gala be'es hatanoim, that's now being revealed at the time of the tanoim, where the couple is saying, we want this. We want to get married. Hu bebechinas, Reb Nachman's going to compare this moment to something we find in the chariot that Yechezkel saw. Anybody remembers Torah Vav? The chariot of Yechezkel, where it says, V'achayis urotza v'shoiv. And these very exalted angels that were carrying the chariot of God were running. Okay, there's nothing physical here. This is all conceptual. So remove all physical. This is all conceptual. The chayis, which are very high spiritual beings, and all they want to do is get close to the infinite light of Hashem. Sounds like, Baal Tshuva Neshei Torah. All I want to do is get, and all of a sudden they run. Again, it's not physically, but they're running, but then they get a bit too close, if you will. It's like you run into Ichimar and then you just want to close the door behind you, and then, whoa, a little bit too much light, and they're like, you should please, here's the door. Okay. But then you want to go back in. So the chayes for Rotza v'Shai, they run, and then they go back. They run, they go back, and they run, because they always want more and more closeness to the infinite light. But once you get too close to the sun, you get a bit singed. So it's whoop, okay. But then they want more. They saw something, they tasted something, so they run, then they come back. They run, Rotza v'Shoiv. Moti v'loy moti. They get close, and then they get close again. which is really our entire life, is a process called Rotza V'Shoiv, Baki B'Rotza, Baki B'Shoiv, Shnei Bekiyin, Mavar Yabok, is we're always running to you, Hashem, and then a little bit we have to be careful. And then running, and then, because this is serious stuff. So what happens at the time of the Tanoim? What happens when we break the plate? Hu b'chinas achayis rotza v'shoim. Ki b'shas ha-shidduch, at the time of the Shidduch, nisgala his kashrus, at the time of the Shidduch, the oneness gets revealed, like a spark of this is revealed. But look what Reb Nachman says, v'tekafu miyad nis'alim. As soon as that moment happens, of the oneness, of the connection, something becomes concealed. Now, the simple meaning of that is that they're not allowed to yet be together as husband and wife because they didn't go to the chuppah. So they know they're one, but they can't yet be one yet. That's why you should know the process of being a chas and kala is not pashut. There's a lot of, just simply put, tension because they feel like one, but they're not able to express that physically yet. They're not able to because they didn't go to the chuppah. So it's like this very intense, and it usually actually makes a lot of intense stuff come up in the relationship because they just want to be one and together, but they can't. And therefore, speak to your local Orthodox rabbi about how much time to spend with your fiance, because too much time together just can become like too intense. And like going to sleep on the phone, like, you know, you hang up first. You hang up first. And it's like 9-hour phone calls. And like you need to have, you know, do normal functioning things the next day. And, you know, you'll do that when you're married. But now it's like, it could be, and then after 9 hours, it becomes like a fight, and it's a very complex time. It's very complex. So you have to know how to navigate the engagement period. But simply put, the oneness disappears. And there's oftentimes tensions. Ki achakan is pardon, v'nisrachakin. They separate. They're not going home after the Tanaim, after the Shidduch is made. They're not going home to live together. They're separating. Meaning she's still in her father's house, he's still living in the dorms, whatever. Pasha, that's the way to get to a Shidduch, is be learning in yeshiva. And I slept in yeshiva every day until the night before my chassan. I'm, you know, in my little, you know, yeshiva bed, not too much bigger than, you know, me. And that's, you know, and the next night I slept in my house. Yeah, you're a bacher, you know, it's okay. When I need to go sleep somewhere else, some fancy thing. Yeah, the night before the what? This is home court advantage. This is where, you know, the Moshav, wherever you are. Oh, this is my spot. Okay? So the simple meaning is that they're not one yet, but they felt the oneness. Ki adayin hi asura alov, ad chuppah. They didn't have chuppah yet. Nimtza. So what happens? We find shebishas shidduch nisgala ora achta shalahem. At the time of the shidduch, we see a unification. It was an achdus shahaya ad ata behelim, which was hiding before from the second they were born, wandering around the world. Where's my shidduch? Where's my soulmate? And then they see it, and then take it from miyad nisalem, and then it's hidden kinir la'el. And this is what it means that the chayis, that the angels are rotza, they're running, they see this great light, but then they retreat, and then it's hidden from them. The chayis see this great light, and then they retreat. They see this great light, and then they retreat. The shidduch is, I see this great light, and then it's like I retreat. I have to go back. We're not one yet. But then I see this great light, and you're going to see even in your marriage there's going to be higher levels of I see this great light of unification, but then there's like a retreat. And then there's great light, and then a retreat. But the absolute shift from this darkness to oneness is, let's map the sequence. Let's Google map it right here. In Shemayim, you're one. As you come down into this world through all the Olamis, the two souls start splitting into Zochav and Nekeva. That's separation. And up there, could you imagine what the feeling of like being split apart, two souls, which is really the side of Adam and Chava when they were split on Rosh Hashanah, when they were sawed apart, the Yom HaNasira. And now it's painful. They're down in this world, they could run away. And then they have to find each other now. But then they have a choice, which is the choice of making two into one. So then the choice down in this world is two becomes one. And that's the moment of the Shidduch. And they're reminded of the oneness that is them. But then they feel this distance again, because they're not yet mamish one. And then they get married by chuppah, and they're one. But even within the marriage, there's going to be, that's the ultimate one. Now they're mamish one. The halacha creates a unity. That being said, though, there's a panemius of that, of going deeper into the oneness, and deeper, and that's their whole life.
So, coming down from Shemayim and separate, does that support the idea of out of one soulmate?
There's one, call it main one, and that's called Zivug Rishon, and then the Zivug Sheni. Zivug Rishon is according to somebody's mazel, so to speak, destined, but a person sadly can make choices to run away from, and therefore a person has to be very, very careful of, as long as he goes in a healthy way, and he's just going with Hashem's ratzon, then he'll bring Zivug Rishon, he'll bring his soulmate mamish. But a person is like constantly fighting Ratzon Hashem. He's fighting. He's saying no to every single wonderful girl that's coming to him. I don't even want to tell you the things I've heard. People saying no on both sides. I don't want to say it. It's like so horrible. It's so horrible. People like pushing away their soulmate. Sadly. B'ezrat Hashem they should find mamish right now. But it's not. I'm like, here's one. A very nice girl. Her face is like just too round. I like a little bit round, but not too round. Bro, that's not okay. That's not okay. It's not okay. And there's other stuff. And it could even be like little things, like I saw that she didn't have her shoes like nicely, or I saw that he was a bit like what? Everyone's got their quirky things. So when it's in the rubric of quirky things, and be careful of just saying no. You get what I'm saying? Everyone's got little, but to really like say, see, and it's hard for me. It's very, very hard to hear that, because you want people to be good and come together, and then it's sad. I'm not talking about situations a person's really trying and we don't know Hashem's plan. But when you see that someone's like rejecting very nice ideas, suggestions for not the greatest, you have to be open to what Hashem is sending you. Because part of that is the Sitra Achra of keeping separateness. Which a lot of that comes to Yeshus and Gaiva, of like, I know what I need. And therefore there's no way that, she says, there's no way that my husband could be a vegetarian. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. Maybe meat doesn't agree with his system. No, I grew up in a meat-eating family, and it's for sure, he's gonna man the Barbie. He's gonna, be that kind of a husband. I always had a picture of that. Maybe he's not going to be. You have to learn what does Hashem want? Be open. So that's the Sitra Achra we're talking about. It's like really trying to keep separateness, like to draw separateness and drive a wedge between the couple, chas v'shalom, and not let them find each other. Whereas all that we're about is creating unification. That's the Jewish way, creating unification. It's all about unification. Mamash. Two to become one. Hashem yichud kudshu b'richu shchintei. The two should become one. Ish ve'isha chasen kala. Which is, by the way, that is the simcha of the chasana. That's the simcha of the chasana. It's the two are becoming one, and you're like watching it in front of your very eyes. Ubishvil zeh. Oh, so now we get back to the plate. So why do we break the plate? So says Reb Nachman, Ubishvil zeh shoivrim kli cheres b'shas es kashas ha-shidduch. And that's why we break the plate at the time of the making of the shidduch. Ki ksiv, because the very pasuk that we mentioned of the chayas for rotzav v'shoiv, that the chayas were going back and forth, the pasuk goes on to describe what it looked like. Ve'achayas rotzav v'shoiv kamara habozak, like a flash of light. Bezek is not just, electricity company in Israel. And Chashmal is not just electricity in modern Hebrew. Chashmal is a very deep Kabbalistic concept. You say, I got to pay the Chashmal bill. So you got to know that word itself, tzaddikim would tremble just hearing the word Chashmal. Kemare habazak. So the chayis, the rotzav v'shoiv come and they looked like this flash. Because they were going so fast. It looked like that. And as soon as they got close, they'd have to, right? You know what? You go so fast, it looks like there's no back and forth. So it looked like these flashes of lightning. Perish. What did this spark look like of the chayis? Interesting. Ko'or hayotzim nacharosim. It looked like the light that comes out when you break a plate. There's a slight spark. When you break a plate, there's a slight spark that you need to be sensitive to. There's a spark that, in the moment of the breaking, a little spark, a tiny spark, that comes out when you break a piece of pottery. A little toot. Shehu rak lefisha, which is a second, a momentary that you could barely even see. And therefore, when we're breaking the plate, there's this tiny little spark that gets revealed, and that's the spark of the husband and the wife seeing the oneness between them. That's the spark of them being reminded. But then the spark goes away, because they can't be together. They need to wait until the chuppah. Yeah, Yankel?
If this spark is so important, why don't we cover, we wrap the plate?
So, a great question. I think it's a symbolic spark. You don't even really see it. And we just don't want people to hurt their hands and get cut.
Also, it's also like a hidden thing. That spark is hidden between the two of them.
It is. It's a symbolic spark. Yes, sure.
It would be more of a flash, because when we deal with higher levels of Yiddish faith, actions and events become cactus nouns, like sphere. Technically verbs will be treated like nouns, separate entities. So maybe that specific action when it breaks that flash you see.
That's the flash.
That's the flash. That it might be a reflection of light is how you interpret it. It might not be a separate spark. But it's that event, that moment.
That moment, the breaking of the plate, is this flash, and that flash is hinting to the chayes rotzav v'shoiv, the chayes kamari abazak, like the way that it looks when they're running and they're coming back and they're running. There's this flash, and that's the flash the couple is now seeing, that they were so separate, but now all of a sudden they see each other. They see this unification. What do you think the chayes are doing? They're just trying to unify back into God. Oh, Yeah.
If the shows are one in Shemayim, what does it mean when people say like Rabbi Akiva's wife is in a higher place in heaven than him? How is that possible if they're one?
It's complex up there, even though it's pashut at the same time. Anytime that you hear stories of like they're on a higher place, we oftentimes, there's sequels to the story where one of the sides will say it's not okay that my husband's not with me, my wife is not with me, and then they'll speak to the Beit Din Shel Ma'ala and then they'll schlep them up to where they are. There's a whole story about about the Kosh Shel Eliyah Novi. I'll just say it quickly because I had a flash of it. Is that there was a famous Maisa, there was a couple, and this couple, one of their things, they were very mahader for their Kosh Shel Eliyah Novi. That they would decorate the cup, the goblet for Elijah the prophet, with diamonds, and rubies, and gemstones. And every single year they would add more jewels to the Kosh Shel Eliyah as an honor that when Elijah the prophet comes on Leil Seder, on Seder night, that his Kosh should be, wow. And at one point, the family became poor, and it was before Pesach. And you know, Pesach is a time of Chesron Kiss, and there's a lot of expenses come Pesach time. And the husband came to the wife, and he started to open his mouth, and the wife sort of knew what he was getting to, and he said, you know, maybe we should think about, like, you know, there is something in the house that's worth a lot of money. Like we could sell. She said, don't you think about touching the Kosh Shel Eliyah Novi. He's like, oh, no, I won't. I would just mention it. Don't even mention it. She said, we will not touch that Kosh. It belongs to Eliyah Novi. Don't play games. But there was Pasha nothing in the house. So it was before Pesach, and the husband said, I guess I'll go to Beis Medrash and daven, get ready for it. Pasha had like basically nothing in the house. And the wife said, I'm going to stay here and get it, also daven, go out, see what we can do, and you go to the Beis Medrash and start davening. So he goes to the Beis Medrash, a bit of a broken person, but they had a Kosh Eliyah. All of a sudden they get a knock on the door, and there's a person, looked like a very well-to-do guy, and he just said, I'm sorry, I know it's Erev Pesach, but like, I'm traveling, I got stuck, do you mind if I have the Seder by you? Like, I'm sorry, I know it's last minute, and the Rebbetzin said, I would love for you to be with us for the Seder. We barely have any food, if any, in the house. Like, so he said, oh, that's not a problem. How much do you need? So she said, like, probably this. He's like, take this and some, and really? Yeah, no problem. He says, I'm going to shul. Your husband's in shul. Yeah, I'll be on shul and I'll see you for the Seder. So the Rebbetzin has tons of money. She runs out, grabs the matzahs, grabs the wine, prepares everything, candlelit. The husband comes home. All of a sudden he sees like beautifully lit in the windows, beautiful aromas, fleishigs, gewaldig. I don't know, this person came and then walks into the house, has the whole Suda. Do you want to stay? No, I'm okay. They have the Suda together. They feel there's something exalted about this guest, special. A mamish gehoibene gewaldike. And that's it. Afterwards, he leaves. When they get to Shemayim, so they bring them both in, and they let them know that you had a Gilui of Eliyah Novi, obviously. And it wasn't Pashut because they were going to do something not nice to the husband because he had a Havamina to sell the cup. And they were making problems for Min Shemayim. And The wife obviously got 2 Gilui Eliyahu's because she didn't even have a Havamina. The husband got 1 Gilui because in the end that he didn't. Because she got to see him when he was in shul. And Tzaddikim bring down, the Chayzim Lublin brings down that they were going to separate the husband to bring him to a certain place and take the wife up to a high place. And the wife said, I will not allow that to happen. And she started to say things that it was all to help me and this, and make a whole tainas and Shemaim. Ad Kadekad, they were a bit like afraid of the Rebbetzin up there. And they were in this battle, his Gezerah, and they pulled him up as well to be with her in that place in Gan Eden. So these things are complex. What do we know? They are one, and a good couple will, like you see, go to bat for each other, even up there. But the real answer is you got to speak to Mekubalim. Like the details of what parts of neshamas go, these things are beyond my pay grade. So says the Rebbe. V'al kein b'shas is kashas hashidduch she'az ora achdus shalahem nisgal b'chinas rotzav v'shoyu k'nir la'el. Al kein shoivrim as kli cheres, and therefore we break a kli cheres. Zemeram is al soid. This is to hint to the secret. Achayas rotzav v'shoyu k'marei abozak k'nir la'el. This is hinting to the oneness of the couple that got separated, but is now coming back together. And therefore that spark, that flash that comes out of the broken plate is showing itself even for just a moment. I thought we'd have more time, but I want to just begin another Torah that he talks about breaking the plate. So look in Tinyona, the end of Tinyona. Tinyona.
Soccer starts later.
Oh, shkoya. In Tinyona Tzadi. We'll try to just do this a little bit quick. So Tinyona is the second sefer. Tinyona Tzadi. Tam shel shviras kli cheres. Another time Rav Nachman brings down, why do we break the kli cheres by the Shidduch? Hu b'shnei inyonim. There's 2 points beyond what we just said, of 2 becoming 1 in the flash of that revelation. Says Rav Nachman, he quotes a Gemara, Ki be'emes tzrichim lizar me'oid me'oid. Rav Nachman says, bless you, should be very, very careful, shaloi lagarish es ishtai. Be very, very careful to not divorce your wife. Okay? Even though, yes, there is a mitzvah if it gets to that, but that should be the last resort. And we do anything possible for husbands and wives. Like anybody who's really involved in couple therapy, really trying to help, it's a very simple line. We're here to make and not break. Make and not break. And not to push. Sometimes it's forced trying to push to break. We want to make and not break. That's our whole philosophy, is to make and not break. It's very not pashut to break. And sadly, a lot of the things that are going on that break are just so petty. There's a book that came out recently. It's called 10 Dumb Mistakes That Really Smart Couples Make. Rabbi Ben-Zion Schaefer. It's amazing. It's so good. It's so relatable. It's a marriage book literally written in the language of the people. Even the title, like dumb mistake. You guys are smart, but you're making dumb mistakes. And there's 10 of them that you're making. He's not afraid to say what's going on. It's very good. Highly recommend it. Tell the whole world right now there's an amazing sefer to have. Amazing sefer to have.
Would you ever recommend learning something like that with your wife?
Yeah. I mean, this is a sefer you can like laugh together about, because it's like there's so many of them are just dumb mistakes. I mean, I don't recommend like, what's the classic one? Like in the bathroom, like let's say it's like a secular book. You put like a book strategically open to the page of the thing that you think she's doing, and then she notices the open page and like, what do they call that? The passive aggressive silent. So, not in those ways. Like, But yeah, you could speak about things together. If they know someone's the set and setting to do it, if one of you guys are upset, it's not the great time. Like, did you see page 422? It's exactly what he said not to do it. Like, you're so insensitive. But that's exactly what. Don't be insensitive. So you gotta know. You gotta know how to do it. But the yesod is you should try very, very not try. Lizar me'oid me'oid shaloi lagarish es ishtay. But look what Reb Nachman says. We're just going to only be able to see this b'kitzara right now. Ki amar Rabbi Yisrael zechon levracha. The Gemara says in Erevin, Mem Aleph Amud Beis. Very interesting Gemara. Ayin Sham, the beginning of the parak. Shloisha einim roin pnei Gehenim. There's 3 people that don't see the face of Gehenim. And one of the opinions says, Umish yesh lo isha ra. Somebody who has a very difficult wife. Why does he not suffer Gehenim? Because he has it over here. Wouldn't that be a cause to... So the Gemara goes over it that even there's reasons not to divorce, even if your wife is challenging. There were certain tzaddikim, famously, you should look into the Ber Mayim Chaim. The Ber Mayim Chaim was a Sidur Shel Shabbos. The Ber Mayim Chaim, he was a neshama of Shabbos Kodesh, a whole story. Rav Weinberg has a shir about Gewaldik. And his wife was very difficult. Like he was like the Rebbe, and his wife would come in the middle of the tish and like scream at him and yell at him. He's like with the Olam, in Lebedik. And he was the Rebbe, he was the tzaddik. And it was like, wasn't pasha. But he understood that there was all sorts of avodah. And the Gemara there says, a person he won't have to see Gehenim as long as he's makabel be'ava. As long as he accepts his lot be'ava. And he's not grumpy about the whole thing. Interesting Gemara, you should see the Gemara over there. So the Gemara said, "L'may nafkamina l'kabuli ba'ava." The Pershim afarshim shemipnei zeh loy amar kan hanafkamina de la'el ki kodem lezeh isa sham shloish dvarim avim zanim daita. That's kind of l'may nafkamina l'meboy rachmi shadaven. Okay. Ki elo ashloish tzrichim l'kabel be'ava dafka. These 3 people, you have to receive them be'ava. It says a person with stomach problems. It's very, very challenging. Person. Poverty, very, very challenging. A person who's always, he can't get out of debt, he's got to work very hard. There's all sorts of challenging things. He won't see Pnei Gehenim as long as he accepts it, Ba'ava. He accepts like this challenge, and he's not, cynical and grumpy about the whole thing. He realizes Hashem has a plan. I'm trying to make the best. I'm trying to get out of it. I'm trying to do my best. But he's makabel at Hashem, this must be from you. So he says an amazing thing. And I'm just going to say this more outside. He says, do you know why we break the plate? Because the Gemara says in Sukkah, Kishar hacharosim, there is a gate called the gate of the pottery. There's a gate by the Beis HaMikdash called the gate of the pottery. And it's interesting because they used to throw shivrei charosim there. They used to throw pieces of pottery by that gate. And it says that gate was right beside the Pischa Shel Gehenim, the opening of Gehenim, Bei Gehinom, from this Gemara. That gate is right beside Bei Gehinom, which is the entrance to Gehenim, where the palm trees are there and you can see smoke. Again, this is all allegorical. You have to use your mind's eye. And at that moment, there is an awareness when I'm breaking the plate that this could either go 2 ways. Right as he's getting married, he's hoping she's going to be, an isha toiva, but maybe it's going to be hard. Maybe it's going to be hard. So the Gemara says if a person accepts that be'ava, So where all the broken pieces of pottery are, that's the Shara Charasan, which is beside Bege Hinnom. At that place, he's not going to have to go in. Because he remembers that right now, he's standing by the broken pottery, which is beside Bege Hinnom, by the Beis HaMikdash. He's standing there, he's seeing the broken pottery, and he's realizing, okay, if this is Ra, then I'm going to be Mekabel Be'av. I'm not going to go down there. And even if she's an Isha Tova, says Rav Nachman, be careful, because if she's an Isha Tova, that you might get overcome by your taivas. It's all so good. He might just lose himself in taivas nosh, even for his wife. Kaddish es atzmecha b'mutter. And therefore he's standing also by the pottery, which is also by Bege Hinnom. And Rav Nachman says, be careful. That either way this goes, you're standing by the broken pottery. Everyone's dancing, Mazel Tov. And the chassan's like, getting hot. But either way he goes, you don't have to go in. You're standing by the broken pottery, and therefore remember, my friend, this is all from Hashem. It's all from Hashem. So in summary, the broken plate is reminding us of the two becoming one, that spark that's coming out. The broken pottery is reminding us of either way this goes, be careful, you don't want to go into Bege Hinnom. And we should mamish know that the soy this week of Chayes Sarah is the whole chiyas of Sarah. Even though she's dying. But it says by the tzaddikim, afilu b'misasum nikrim chaim, they're called alive. But the tzaddikim, their death is that they're bringing Or into the world. She's bringing Yitzchak into the world. She's bringing Yitzchak into the world. And Yitzchak is going to come together with Rivka. And there's going to be a continuity, there's going to be a continuation of Klal Yisrael. Forever, Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker, that the eternity of Klal Yisrael will continue. Im tacharishi be'es azois. Mordechai tells Esther, even if you yourself, you don't go in to get the job done, Revach v'hatzala yamid la Yehud b'makom acher, the salvation will come. It will always come. Because there's an eternal covenant. And this is the Kedusha of turning two into one, of having children in a holy way and continuing the Messiah. We should be Zoicha Mamish to the ultimate unification, which is Kudsha Bricha and the Shechina. And that we know that the Sfarim say that when the husband and wife are standing under the chuppah, remember this, when I heard this the first time, it changed my chuppah. That when the husband and wife are standing under the chuppah, the angels come down from the highest places in Shemaim and they say, Hashem, look, this husband and wife, they found each other. They found their oneness. Hashem, when will you come back to Klal Yisrael? When will you come back and unify once and once for all and build the Beis HaMikdash for the ultimate unification once again? We should be Zoicha Mamish to Mashiach Tzidkeinu b'mehera v'yamina. Amen.
Amen.
Ayin shum yeyu, shein shum yeyu, ein shum yeyu, dama leilam kla, Rabbeinu shoah v'gagada, ein shum yeyu, shein shum yeyu, ein shum yeyu, dama leilam kla, mitzvah gedayla, niyam b'simcha, niyam b'simcha, بسمغة رمي مساعد إلهي بسم يا بسم بسمغة رمي يمدري دمدري لا 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 يا لا 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 يمدري دمدري لا 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 يا لا 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 دري لا 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 مساعد إلهي بسم يا بسم بسمغة رمي هي مساعد בשמחת עמים, וזגן האליה בשמחה, בשמחת עמים. שכוח רבי ישראל. שחרס.
We did a Torah last